The planet was never designed to kill humans. It just never noticed when it did. The first mining drone lasted 11 minutes on Kepri, 9 before the gravity folded its suspension system flat against the Blackstone surface. The second one survived 14. The third never even finished landing. From the observation deck of Orbital Research Station Toulon, 3, the footage replayed silently across dozens of suspended holographic displays while alien scientists watched another multi-million credit machine collapse under the pressure of the planet below. Kepri, 9 rotated slowly outside the massive station windows like a wounded red eye wrapped in storms. Thick crimson clouds crawled endlessly across the atmosphere, while lightning flickered deep beneath the surface haze. Everything about the planet looked heavy. Even the light seemed tired there. Gravity fluctuation increasing again near the southern extraction fields, one researcher announced quietly. Another scientist enlarged the latest structural telemetry beside him. Surface pressure equivalent now reaching nearly 8 Earth standard. Several workers nearby shifted uncomfortably at that number. Most species in the Galactic Union lost consciousness above 3. Machines survived longer than biology did. Usually. At the rear of the chamber, Lysara Vane stood silently beside the observation glass with pale blue hands folded behind her back. Her elongated reflection shimmered faintly against the stars while holographic data scrolled slowly across her glowing eyes. Elegant. Controlled. Emotionally unreadable. The silver markings beneath her skin pulsed softly each time another gravity surge rolled through the station sensors. "And the human?" she finally asked. A smaller display opened near the center table revealing a personnel file. Mason Reed. Earthborn cargo worker. 44 years old. Civilian industrial contractor. No military background. No genetic enhancement licenses. No recognized scientific value. The image attached to the file looked painfully ordinary. A tired white man with short brown hair turning gray near the temples. Faded work jacket. Coffee stain near the collar. The kind of face nobody remembered in crowded hallways. Transfer shuttle arriving in 7 minutes, another scientist replied. Probability of survival beyond 48 hours remains below 1%. Nobody sounded emotional about it. Just statistical. Lysara studied the human file quietly while another gravity drone collapsed across the projection feed behind it. "Why volunteer?" she asked. "Compensation package transferred to surviving family members," the researcher answered. The human requested immediate deployment. Lysara looked toward the image again. The eyes bothered her slightly. Not because they looked brave. They did not. They looked tired. Deeply tired. Like someone who had already spent years carrying things heavier than himself long before arriving near a planet designed to crush steel. Below the station, a small industrial shuttle drifted slowly toward docking Sector 12, carrying the only human aboard Toulon, 3. Inside the cramped cargo cabin, Mason Reed sat alone beside several metal supply crates while the shuttle rattled violently through orbital turbulence. One hand wrapped loosely around a dented thermos of burnt station coffee. The other pressed absently against the lower part of his back each time the shuttle shook too hard. Across from him, a warning screen flashed repeatedly in cold white letters. Extreme gravity environment. Survival not guaranteed. Mason looked at the warning for several long seconds before taking another sip of terrible coffee anyway. Yeah, he muttered quietly toward the screen. Story of my life. Outside the small cabin window, Kepri 9 filled nearly the entire sky now. Massive. Dark. Wrong. The clouds looked thick enough to bury cities beneath them. Somewhere under those storms sat the abandoned mining systems nobody else could maintain anymore. Because machines kept breaking. And people stopped volunteering. The shuttle pilot's voice crackled softly through the overhead speaker. Arrival in docking sector 12 in 2 minutes. Mason leaned his head back against the metal wall behind him while engine vibrations hummed through the cabin floor. He looked exhausted already. Not frightened. Just worn down in the quiet, permanent way older working men sometimes carried exhaustion like extra weight in their bones. Far above the shuttle bay, Lissara Vane watched the incoming transport descend slowly through the station monitors while dozens of scientists prepared survival telemetry for what most believed would become a short experiment. Nobody spoke much anymore. Because deep down, everyone aboard Talon 3 already expected the same ending. The human would step onto Kepri 9. Gravity would do the rest. But as the shuttle doors finally opened beneath the cold white lights of docking sector 12, Mason Reed stepped out carrying his old duffel bag over one shoulder and his coffee thermos in the other hand, like a man arriving for another unpleasant work shift. And for reasons Lissara could not explain yet, that disturbed her more than fear would have. The first thing Mason Reed noticed about Talon 3 was that everything hummed. The floors. The walls. Even the air inside the station carried a constant mechanical vibration, like the entire structure was exhausted from holding itself together above Kepri 9. He stepped through docking sector 12 carrying his old duffel bag over one shoulder, while cargo cranes moved silently across the ceiling nearly 200 feet overhead. Steam drifted from maintenance vents along the steel corridors. Bright white station lights reflected against polished metal floors clean enough to show his tired reflection beneath his boots. Around him, alien workers glanced toward the human without trying very hard to hide it. Some looked curious. Others looked uncomfortable. Most looked confused that anyone from Earth had agreed to come here voluntarily. Mason mostly ignored them. He stopped beside an automated coffee dispenser near the docking corridor and stared at the glowing menu screen for several seconds. 5 credits for coffee, he muttered quietly. This station got criminal problems. Behind him, 2 research personnel exchanged low whispers while reviewing a holographic personnel display. That is the human, one asked softly. He appears physically deteriorated already. Mason picked up the steaming metal cup without looking toward them. That is called middle age, he answered before taking a sip. The coffee tasted terrible. Slightly burnt. Artificial cream flavor. Exactly the kind of coffee exhausted workers trusted. Somewhere above the docking bay, hidden behind observation glass high inside the research sector, Lissara Vane watched the interaction through suspended security feeds. The human moved slower than expected. Not weak. Just careful. Every step deliberate, like his body had learned long ago that careless movement came with consequences. His medical scans show spinal compression damage from previous industrial labor. Another scientist informed her quietly. Minor cardiac scarring also detected. Lissara remained focused on the screen. And yet he still volunteered. Humans display irrational survival economics. The alien scientist studied Mason more carefully while he leaned against the coffee station, rubbing one hand slowly against the back of his neck. Tired eyes. Worn jacket. No confidence performance. No heroic posture. He looked like a maintenance worker arriving for overtime. Not someone preparing to descend onto the most dangerous gravity world in Union territory. Schedule his descent briefing, Lasara finally said. Immediately, before he changes his mind, down in the lower station sectors, Mason eventually found Cargo Transit Hall 14, where dozens of industrial workers moved shipping containers beneath massive magnetic cranes suspended overhead. The noise felt familiar there. Hydraulic lifts hissing. Freight chains rattling. Metal boots striking steel walkways. Real work. The kind people stopped romanticizing after doing it for 20 years straight. An older dock supervisor approached carrying a digital assignment tablet beneath one arm. For yellow eyes. Gray uniform. Tired posture. Human, the supervisor grunted. You are Mason Reed? Mason nodded once. Depends who is asking. Cargo logistics supervisor. Then yes. The supervisor handed him the assignment tablet while freight machinery roared somewhere farther down the bay. Surface transfer at 0600 station cycle. Mining shelter 3. Oxygen filtration maintenance. Structural inspections. Emergency repairs. Mason skimmed the list briefly before raising one eyebrow. This whole planet held together with duct tape. You will discover the answer personally. Mason gave the tablet back. Fair enough. The supervisor hesitated before speaking again. You should understand something before descent. Nearby machinery lights reflected softly across the older alien's tired face. Everyone sent to Kepri. 9 eventually requests extraction. Mason took another sip of burnt coffee. How long they usually last? Hours. The human nodded slowly like someone hearing weather predictions instead of survival statistics. Then he looked through the massive cargo bay windows toward the red planet hanging beneath the station. Huge. Violent. Heavy enough to make the stars around it seem dimmer somehow. I grew up in Ohio, he said quietly. The supervisor blinked once. What relevance does this information contain? Mason stared at the storms rolling slowly across Kepri, 9 below them. Means I already know how to survive places that want you miserable. For the first time since arriving aboard Talon 3, one of the nearby workers laughed softly. Small. Brief. Real. Even the supervisor looked confused whether the human was joking or serious. High above them inside the observation sector, Lasara watched Mason through the station cameras while gravity telemetry continued flashing across every scientific display around her. 8 times Earth standard. Atmospheric pressure fluctuations. Surface instability zones. Structural collapse probability. Numbers filled the air endlessly. But somehow the human below still disturbed her more than the data did. Because every other species approached Kepri, 9 with fear. Mason Reed approached it like another difficult shift waiting at the end of a long week. And deep beneath the station below all the polished steel and scientific calculations, the planet waited silently for him to step onto it. At 0600 station cycle, the shuttle bay doors opened beneath cold white floodlights, while Kepri, 9 filled the entire launch corridor beyond them like something alive waiting outside. Mason Reed stood beside a stack of industrial supply crates wearing a reinforced gravity harness over his old brown work jacket, while station personnel moved around him checking descent telemetry one final time. Nobody spoke much near the shuttle. Even the workers loading oxygen filters and repair equipment avoided looking directly toward the planet below. Through the open launch bay, red storms twisted endlessly across the atmosphere of Kepri, 9 beneath flashes of distant lightning. The planet looked close enough to touch now, heavy enough to pull thoughts downward with it. Mason tightened the straps on one worn duffel bag while sipping the last of his burnt station coffee. Beside the loading ramp, a younger technician glanced nervously between the human and the gravity warnings flashing across the shuttle hull. "You really going down there alone?" Mason looked toward the storm planet outside. "Technically, the shuttle comes with me." The technician did not laugh. Above the launch bay, hidden behind dark observation glass, Lasara Vane watched silently while holographic biological projections rotated slowly around her. Human cardiovascular limits. Skeletal compression thresholds. Oxygen adaptation probabilities. Every scientific model predicted catastrophic failure within the first surface hour. Yet the human below still carried himself like a tired mechanic arriving at another maintenance call. Surface gravity currently fluctuating between 7.8 and 8.3 Earth standard, another scientist reported softly beside her. Storm pressure increasing near mining sector 12. Lasara remained focused on Mason while he stepped onto the shuttle ramp, carrying his own equipment instead of waiting for assistance. "Begin full telemetry recording," she said quietly. "I want continuous monitoring from surface arrival onward." The descent shuttle detached from Talon, several minutes later with a low mechanical vibration rolling through the cabin walls. Mason sat alone again, surrounded by supply containers strapped tightly against the floor, while emergency descent alarms pulsed dim red light across the cramped interior. Outside the small side window, the stars disappeared slowly behind layers of crimson storm clouds as the shuttle entered atmosphere. Then the turbulence started. The entire cabin shook violently hard enough to rattle tools loose inside the cargo racks overhead. Metal groaned beneath the pressure, while gravity warning indicators flashed across every screen inside the shuttle. Mason braced one hand against the wall while breathing slowly through the turbulence. "Surface pressure spike detected," the onboard computer announced calmly. "Structural resistance compensating." The shuttle dropped harder. Mason felt it immediately. Not impact. Wait. Like invisible hands suddenly pressed downward against his chest and shoulders all at once. His breathing tightened slightly. His back muscles stiffened beneath the gravity harness. "Well," he muttered quietly toward nobody. "That feels personal." Outside the shuttle windows, Kepri 9 finally appeared clearly beneath the storm cover. Endless black stone. Jagged mountain ridges disappearing into crimson dust storms. Mining towers leaning under impossible pressure while distant industrial lights flickered weakly against the dark landscape. Nothing moved naturally there. Even the wind looked heavy. The shuttle landed hard enough to shake the entire cabin. Warning alarms pulsed immediately afterward. "Surface gravity 8.1 Earth standard," the computer announced. "External pressure stable." Stable sounded generous. Mason remained seated for several seconds after landing with both hands resting quietly against his knees. Sweat already formed along his forehead despite the cold cabin air. The gravity pressed against him continuously now. Not sharp. Constant. Like wearing exhaustion directly on his bones. Above the surface, Talon, 3 scientists monitored his telemetry in complete silence. Elevated heart strain. Rapid muscular fatigue. Microcompression beginning along lower spinal structure. Human physiology was already struggling only moments after landing. Surface deployment approved. The station computer finally confirmed. Inside the shuttle, the rear loading door began opening slowly with a loud hydraulic groan. Red storm light spilled across the cabin floor immediately. Dust moved through the air outside in thick, slow waves while distant mining sirens echoed somewhere beyond the landing pad. Mason stared at the open doorway for several long seconds. Then he stood up. The gravity hit harder instantly. His knees nearly buckled beneath him before he caught himself against the cabin wall. Pain crossed his face sharply. Real pain. The kind older workers recognized without making noise about it. Human stability compromised, one station scientist warned quietly. But Mason kept moving. One slow step at a time toward the open ramp. The metal beneath his boots groaned when his full weight shifted onto it. Outside the shuttle, black stone stretched endlessly beneath red storm clouds while gravity pressed against every inch of the planet like an invisible ocean trying to drag everything flat. Mason finally stepped onto the surface of Kepri 9. The cracked landing pad trembled softly beneath his boots. And somewhere high above the planet inside Orbital Research Station Talon 3, Vane watched the human remains standing when every model said he should already be on the ground. The first hour on Kepri 9 felt like carrying another person strapped across his shoulders. Mason Reed moved slowly across the mining platform with one hand gripping the steel railing beside the landing zone, while red dust rolled across the black stone beneath his boots. Every breath required effort now. Not panic. Work. His chest tightened each time the gravity shifted slightly beneath the storm pressure overhead. Muscles along his back already burned from simply remaining upright. But he kept moving. The mining outpost stretched across the dark terrain ahead like something abandoned long before people stopped using it. Leaning communication towers groaned softly in the wind. Cargo cranes stood half-collapsed beneath the constant pressure. Floodlights flickered through red dust clouds thick enough to blur the distant mountains into shadows. Even sound moved differently there. Slower. Heavy enough to feel physical. Mason finally reached Shelter 3 nearly 20 minutes after leaving the shuttle despite the structure standing less than 300 yards away. The shelter door opened automatically with a loud hydraulic hiss. Warm recycled air rolled across his face immediately. Inside, several alien workers looked up from maintenance stations and meal trays the moment the human entered. Silence followed him through the room. One worker stared openly at Mason's trembling hands while another glanced toward the surface timer mounted beside the doorway. "You remained outside 21 minutes," one of them finally said. Mason leaned heavily against the nearest wall, trying not to sound out of breath. "Yeah," he answered quietly. "Planet seems rude." Nobody laughed. Most species assigned to Kepri 9 required emergency extraction after less than 10 minutes exposed to full surface gravity. Yet the humans still stood there covered in red dust asking for coffee. Mason spotted a heating dispenser near the rear maintenance station and walked toward it slowly while his boots struck the steel floor with unusual weight. The gravity inside the shelter remained reduced compared to outside, but not by much. Everything still hurt. He filled a metal cup from the dispenser and took one careful sip before immediately grimacing. "Congratulations," he muttered toward the machine. "You somehow made worse coffee than the station." One of the workers near the oxygen console blinked slowly. "You continue consuming bitter stimulants voluntarily?" Mason stared into the cup. "At my age, this is basically emotional support liquid." High above the planet, Lysara Vane watched the live surface feed through suspended holographic displays while Mason moved around Shelter 3 performing intake inspections. His biometrics looked terrible already. Elevated heart strain. Severe muscular compression. Early signs of skeletal stress along the knees and spine. Yet his behavior remained strangely calm beneath the pressure. "Pain tolerance exceeds projections," one scientist noted quietly beside her. Lysara focused on the footage instead of the numbers. The human favored his right leg slightly now while carrying equipment toward the maintenance bay. Older injury probably aggravated by the gravity load. But he never mentioned discomfort aloud. He simply adjusted how he walked and kept moving. That detail bothered her more than the adaptation data did. Hours later, the storm alarms activated across Mining Sector 12. Red emergency lights flashed through the shelter corridors, while warning sirens echoed faintly outside beneath the wind. Mason looked up immediately from the oxygen filtration unit he had spent the afternoon repairing by hand. "Gravity storm incoming," one worker announced nervously. "Surface pressure surge expected." Outside the reinforced shelter windows, the sky darkened almost instantly. Crimson dust spiraled violently across the mining platforms, while distant support towers groaned beneath the increasing gravity load. Loose machinery began collapsing sideways across the exterior walkways. External maintenance drones still active near the eastern oxygen exchangers, another worker warned. Mason wiped grease slowly across the front of his jacket while glancing toward the storm outside. "Those exchangers fail, what happens?" Silence answered him first. Then one worker finally spoke quietly. "Air circulation stops through half the mining sector." Mason looked toward the storm again. Red lightning flickered across the horizon while industrial sirens echoed through the darkening dust clouds outside. Every survival instinct inside his exhausted body probably screamed at him to stay indoors. Instead, he set the wrench down carefully beside the repair console and started walking toward the shelter exit. Several workers stared at him in disbelief. "Surface conditions are no longer survivable," one warned immediately. Mason stopped near the pressure door controls while tightening the straps on his gravity harness again. His hands already shook slightly from fatigue. "People still need air," he answered simply. Then the outer shelter doors opened, and the gravity storm swallowed him whole. The storm hit like the planet suddenly decided to become heavier. Mason Reed stepped out of Shelter 3 and immediately felt the gravity pressure increase hard enough to drag his shoulders downward beneath the reinforced harness. Red dust exploded across the mining sector in thick, violent waves while emergency sirens echoed between leaning steel towers disappearing into the storm. Visibility dropped almost instantly. Every floodlight along the platform flickered through the airborne dust like drowning stars. Mason lowered his head against the wind and kept moving. Each step sank deeper into the cracked black surface beneath his boots. The oxygen exchanger towers stood nearly 400 yards from the shelter across an exposed maintenance bridge suspended over the lower mining trenches. Under normal conditions, the walk would have taken minutes. On Kepri 9 during a gravity storm, every yard felt personal. Inside Shelter 3, several workers gathered around the observation screens watching the human disappear slowly into the red storm outside. One younger technician looked visibly unsettled. He cannot survive long exposure during pressure escalation. Another worker checked the external gravity telemetry with trembling hands. Surface load already reaching 8.4 Earth standard. Nobody aboard the shelter believed the human would reach the exchangers before collapsing. High above the planet inside Orbital Research Station Talon 3, Lasara Vane watched Mason through unstable drone footage breaking constantly beneath the atmospheric interference. The image shook violently while gravity alarms flashed across every display around her. Yet somehow the human kept moving through the storm. Slower now. Much slower. But still forward. His heart rate is exceeding safe biological limits, a scientist warned quietly beside her. Lasara stared at the distorted feed while Mason struggled across the maintenance bridge against the wind. He knows that, she answered softly. Down below, Mason finally reached the oxygen exchanger platform, breathing hard enough to visibly stagger sideways. The entire structure groaned beneath the storm pressure. One of the filtration turbines had partially collapsed against the main intake housing, while warning lights flashed across the damaged control systems. Thick frost coated several pressure pipes, already beginning to rupture under the gravity load. Mason grabbed the nearest support railing and forced himself toward the control panel, one painful step at a time. His hand shook badly now. Sweat mixed with red dust across his face while the planet pressed downward against every joint in his body like invisible machinery, trying to crush him slowly into the ground. External stabilization failure detected, the exchanger computer announced through distorted speakers. Manual reset required. Mason stared at the damaged override lever mounted beside the fractured intake pipe. Of course it was manual. He leaned heavily against the console for several seconds, catching his breath before muttering quietly toward nobody. One day, he whispered, I would like technology to fear me slightly more. Then the storm sirens changed tone. Deep. Urgent. Somewhere across the mining sector, another support structure failed with a distant metallic scream echoing through the storm. Mason looked up immediately toward the dark outline of the eastern gravity tower barely visible through the red dust clouds. The entire tower leaned several feet farther sideways than before. Structural collapse imminent, the station warning system announced remotely through his wrist communicator. All personnel evacuate surface sectors immediately. Mason looked back toward the damaged oxygen exchanger, then toward the collapsing gravity tower beyond the storm, then slowly closed his eyes for one exhausted second. Yeah, he muttered softly. That figures. High above him, Lasara watched the telemetry feed while her pale blue eyes reflected the emergency warnings flooding every monitor inside the control chamber. He must evacuate now, another scientist insisted. But Mason already reached for the exchanger override lever with both hands. The metal resisted immediately beneath the gravity pressure. Veins rose sharply along his forearms while the strained machinery groaned louder around him. Mason pulled harder. Nothing moved. Wind slammed violently across the platform, shaking loose cables and shattered plating around the structure. The gravity storm intensified again. His knees nearly buckled beneath the pressure spike. Yet the human kept pulling against the lever inch by inch while the exchanger turbines screamed overhead. Finally, the override snapped downward with a violent metallic impact. Across the mining sector, oxygen circulation systems roared back online through the underground tunnels below. Shelter lights stabilized instantly. Emergency pressure alarms stopped flashing. Thousands of workers could breathe again. Mason remained leaning against the override lever, breathing hard enough to shake, while red dust storms rolled endlessly around him. Then through the storm haze beyond the platform, he saw the eastern gravity tower begin to fall. The eastern gravity tower did not fall quickly. It folded. Slowly. Like the planet itself had wrapped invisible fingers around the steel structure and begun pressing downward inch by inch. Mason Reed stared through the storm while red warning lights flashed across the mining sector beneath the rolling clouds overhead. The tower leaned farther sideways with every passing second. Thick support cables snapped loose against the wind while entire maintenance platforms twisted beneath the pressure. Somewhere below the structure, hundreds of underground workers still remained inside the extraction tunnels connected to the tower grid. If the stabilizer collapsed completely, half the sector would lose pressure control. On Kepri 9, that meant the planet won. Mason pushed himself away from the oxygen exchanger console, breathing hard enough to feel sharp pain spreading through his ribs. Every muscle in his body already trembled from the storm load. His gravity harness groaned softly each time he moved. The safe decision would have been returning to Shelter 3 immediately. Even standing upright outside now bordered on impossible. Instead, he looked toward the collapsing tower and quietly muttered one exhausted sentence into the storm. Of course it is the far one. Inside Shelter 3, workers gathered around emergency displays showing structural failure spreading rapidly through the eastern sector. One technician noticed the human changing direction through the storm feed. "Where is he going?" another asked nervously. Then the realization hit the room all at once. "No," someone whispered. High above the surface, Lasara Vane stepped closer toward the suspended projection feed while static flickered violently across the storm imagery. Mason moved slowly through the red dust toward the failing gravity tower, carrying only a portable stabilizer kit and one industrial cable spool dragged behind him across the stone. His physical condition is approaching collapse, a station scientist warned beside her. Recommend immediate extraction authorization. Lasara remained silent for several seconds while the storm alarms echoed softly through the control chamber. Finally, she asked the only question that mattered. Would he accept extraction? Nobody answered immediately. Because everyone aboard Talon 3 already knew the truth. Down below, the gravity tower loomed overhead like a dying skyscraper leaning against the storm. Massive steel support beams groaned beneath impossible strain while warning sirens pulsed through the dark air around it. Mason reached the lower maintenance platform and nearly dropped to one knee the moment another gravity surge rolled through the sector. The pressure spike hit hard enough to blur his vision briefly. Blood pounded inside his skull. His back screamed with pain beneath the harness restraints. For several dangerous seconds, he simply remained crouched against the platform railing, trying to breathe through the weight crushing down around him. Then his radio crackled alive through the storm. "Human," a calm voice said quietly. Mason looked toward the communicator clipped beside his harness. He recognized the voice immediately, even through the static distortion. "You are either very brave," Lasara continued softly, "or extremely stubborn." Mason forced himself upright again while staring at the leaning gravity tower overhead. "At my age," he answered between breaths, "those become basically the same thing." For the first time since arriving on Kepri 9, silence lingered briefly between them that did not feel scientific. Lasara watched him through unstable drone footage while storm lightning flashed across the shattered platforms around him. The human looked exhausted beyond reason now. His movements slower, heavier, but still deliberate. Still moving toward the tower instead of away from it. "Structural collapse estimated within 11 minutes, she warned quietly. Mason dragged the heavy stabilizer cable toward the primary support column while dust storms screamed across the open platform. "Then I better stop talking." The tower shuddered violently overhead. One of the upper support arms bent downward several more feet with a deep metallic groan echoing through the storm. Mason reached the emergency manual stabilizer controls mounted near the base column and stared at the damaged locking mechanism already half crushed by gravity stress. The automatic systems were gone. Of course they were. He wiped red dust and sweat slowly from his eyes before gripping the massive steel override wheel with both hands. The moment he tried turning it, pain shot sharply through his shoulders and lower spine hard enough to force a strained sound from his throat. The wheel barely moved. Above him, the gravity tower continued leaning toward collapse while emergency sirens echoed endlessly across the dead black landscape. Inside Talon 3, every scientist watched the human fighting machinery designed for species physically stronger than his own. But Mason Reed kept turning the wheel one grinding inch at a time, while invisible planetary pressure crushed against his body from every direction. And somewhere beneath the fear and calculations and storm telemetry, Lasara Vane realized she had stopped monitoring the experiment a long time ago. Now she was simply afraid the human might die alone. The gravity tower stopped falling 3 minutes before total collapse. Mason Reed felt it through the steel override wheel first. A slight shift. Tiny. Almost gentle beneath the crushing pressure surrounding the platform. Then the emergency stabilizer lights changed from red to dim white one by one across the support structure overhead. The massive tower still leaned dangerously against the storm, but it no longer moved. Mason kept both hands locked against the override, well, several seconds longer anyway, because his exhausted brain no longer trusted the planet enough to believe anything had truly stabilized. Wind screamed across the platform hard enough to shake loose cables against the support beams around him. Red dust covered everything now. His jacket. His face. Even the sweat running down his neck looked dark beneath the storm light. Finally, he released the wheel slowly and nearly collapsed the moment his arms let go. Pain shot through his shoulders and lower back hard enough to blur his vision again. Mason caught himself against the railing before falling completely. For several long breaths, he simply stood there bent forward beneath the impossible weight of Kepri 9 trying to pull air into lungs that suddenly felt too small for the planet around him. Inside Orbital Research Station Talon 3, nobody in the observation chamber spoke. The live feed showed the humans still standing beside the stabilized gravity tower while emergency telemetry slowly normalized across the mining sector below. Oxygen pressure restored. Structural collapse halted. Surface casualties avoided. One scientist quietly lowered the survival probability projection, still hovering beside his station. It no longer made sense mathematically. Lysara Vane remained motionless near the center display, while storm lightning reflected softly across her pale blue eyes. The human looked smaller somehow now against the endless black landscape outside. Smaller. More fragile. Yet impossibly still there. Her communicator channel opened automatically through the surface feed. "Human," she said quietly. Mason pressed one tired hand against the side of the tower while catching his breath. "Yeah, you stabilized the structure." He stared toward the storm horizon, where distant mining lights flickered weakly beneath the dust clouds. "Looks that way." Silence lingered again. Different this time. Not scientific. Not observational. Lysara studied the human carefully through the damaged drone feed, while his exhausted breathing echoed faintly across the channel. "Why?" she finally asked. Mason frowned slightly. "Why what? Why continue after survival probability became irrational?" The human looked genuinely confused by the question for several seconds. Then he slowly glanced back toward the underground mining sector beneath the tower. "Because people were still down there." He answered it so simply that several scientists inside the chamber exchanged quiet looks afterward. No speech. No performance. Just fact. Mason adjusted the damaged gravity harness across his shoulders before beginning the slow walk back toward shelter 3 through the storm. Every step looked heavier now. The adrenaline had faded. Reality remained. His right leg dragged slightly behind the other. One hand stayed pressed occasionally against his ribs whenever the gravity surged harder through the storm pressure. Yet he still carried the portable stabilizer kit back with him instead of leaving it behind. Somewhere halfway across the maintenance bridge, the storm finally began weakening. Red dust thinned slowly across the mining platforms, while distant floodlights became visible again through the dark haze. Above the clouds, Talon 3 emerged faintly against the sky like a silver star watching the surface below. Mason stopped briefly beside the railing overlooking the deep extraction trenches beneath the sector. Endless darkness stretched downward through the mining shafts, disappearing beneath the planet. Heavy wind moved slowly around him now. Almost tired too. His wrist communicator crackled alive again. "Shelter 3 reports oxygen systems fully operational," Lysara informed him quietly. "You prevented sector failure." Mason rested both forearms against the cold railing for a moment while catching another difficult breath. "Good. You sound disappointed." A faint tired smile crossed his face for the first time since arriving on Kepri 9. "Was hoping maybe they would celebrate with better coffee." For the first time since beginning the experiment, Lysara Vane almost smiled back. Almost. But something else disturbed her more deeply now than curiosity ever had. Because while every scientist aboard Talon 3 studied whether humans could survive impossible gravity, Mason Reed continued proving something entirely different. The weight crushing him was real. The pain was real. The exhaustion was real. And somehow none of it mattered as much to him as the thought of leaving other people behind beneath the storm. The shuttle returning Mason Reed to Orbital Research Station Talon 3 sounded quieter than before. Maybe because the storm had passed. Maybe because exhaustion had finally settled too deeply into his bones for anything to sound loud anymore. He sat alone inside the small transport cabin with both elbows resting against his knees while red emergency lights flickered weakly across the metal walls around him. Every movement hurt now. His shoulders, his ribs. Even his hands trembled faintly each time the shuttle vibrated through upper atmosphere turbulence. The gravity of Kepri 9 still clung to him somehow, like the planet had pressed itself permanently into his muscles before letting him leave. Through the small cabin window, the storm world slowly disappeared beneath thick crimson clouds while Talon 3 drifted overhead against the stars. Cold. Silver. Clean. The station almost looked peaceful from far away. Mason stared at it for several long seconds before quietly muttering toward the empty cabin. Never trust places that clean. Inside the central observation chamber aboard Talon 3, station personnel prepared emergency medical teams near docking sector 12, while updated reports flooded across holographic displays overhead. Surface casualties avoided. Mining stabilization restored. Oxygen systems operational. Across every scientific monitor, one impossible statistic remained highlighted brighter than the others. Human survival time on Kepri 9, 6 days, 19 hours. No species without genetic adaptation had ever remained functional under sustained gravity exposure that long before. Yet Mason Reed still lived. Lysara Vane stood near the observation glass, watching the incoming shuttle approach the station slowly through the darkness. Her pale blue eyes reflected the docking telemetry moving silently across the glass surface. Medical scans predict severe long-term compression damage, one scientist informed her quietly. Human physiology should not have endured this level of strain. Lysara remained focused on the shuttle descending toward the station. And yet it did. The scientist hesitated slightly before speaking again. The human refused 3 extraction opportunities. I know. Do humans normally disregard survival logic to this extent? For several seconds, Lysara said nothing. Then she answered quietly without taking her eyes off the docking approach. I believe humans consider survival differently than we do. Docking Sector 12 opened beneath bright white floodlights moments later, while maintenance crews waited beside the landing platform. The shuttle door finally lowered with a heavy hydraulic hiss. Mason remained seated inside several extra seconds before standing slowly from the cabin bench. Pain crossed his face immediately. Sharp. Real. One hand pressed against the lower part of his back while he stepped carefully toward the exit ramp beneath the station lights. Nobody spoke at first when the human finally emerged from the shuttle. The gravity harness hanging loosely across his shoulders looked scratched nearly beyond recognition. Red dust still covered his boots and jacket. He appeared older somehow than when he arrived 1 week earlier. More tired, but still standing. A medical technician stepped forward carrying a portable scanner. You require immediate treatment. Mason glanced at the scanner before looking around the docking bay. Any chance treatment includes coffee? Your condition is serious. Yeah. Usually is. Several workers nearby exchanged confused looks again, uncertain whether the human used humor defensively or simply lacked normal survival instincts. Then another alarm suddenly echoed through the docking sector overhead. Deep. Mechanical. Wrong. Every station light flickered once. Then twice. A low vibration rolled through the floor beneath everyone's feet hard enough to rattle loose equipment across the loading platform. Emergency warnings flashed instantly across the docking bay walls. Gravity reactor instability detected. Nearby personnel froze in confusion, while another violent tremor shook the station harder this time. Somewhere deep inside Talon 3, heavy machinery screamed against sudden pressure fluctuations. Mason looked upward immediately toward the ceiling structure above the docking sector. He recognized that sound. Not intellectually. Physically. Like a worker hearing a collapsing building before seeing it. "That is not good," he said quietly. Overhead speakers crackled alive through static. Emergency containment failure in lower reactor sectors. All personnel evacuate central station levels immediately. Around the docking bay, workers began moving quickly toward evacuation corridors while alarms flooded every sector of Talon 3. Gravity fluctuations rolled violently through the station again. Cargo containers shifted several inches sideways across the floor without warning. Mason steadied himself against the shuttle railing while pain tightened sharply through his ribs. Above the docking platform observation deck, Lasara appeared through the emergency corridor overlooking the bay below. Her glowing pale blue eyes locked onto the exhausted human instantly. "The reactor is destabilizing," she warned through the emergency intercom. Mason stared upward toward the deep station levels beneath them, where the vibrations continued growing stronger. Then he looked back toward the evacuation corridor signs flashing across the docking sector. "How many people still down there?" Silence answered first. That was enough. Mason closed his eyes briefly like a tired man accepting another impossible shift nobody else wanted. Then he pushed himself away from the railing despite the pain still crushing through his body. Far below the station, beneath miles of steel and machinery, the gravity reactor continued failing. And for the second time in less than a week, Mason Reed started walking toward the thing everyone else was trying to escape. The lower reactor sectors of Talon 3 felt wrong the moment Mason Reed stepped inside them. Not visually. Physically. The air itself carried pressure fluctuations sharp enough to make the steel corridors groan around him every few seconds. Emergency lights flickered through clouds of drifting steam, while station alarms echoed endlessly down the industrial passageways beneath the docking sectors overhead. Gravity surges rolled unpredictably through the station now. One moment his boots barely touched the floor. The next felt like Kepri 9 itself had reached upward through the reactor core to drag the entire station down with it. Mason moved slowly along the emergency catwalk, gripping the railing with one exhausted hand, while the other pressed tightly against his ribs. He should not have still been walking after the week he survived below. His body knew it. Every step hurt now in deep, permanent ways that no amount of rest fixed quickly. Yet he kept moving toward reactor chamber 6, where the stabilizer systems continued failing beneath the station. Behind him, another pair of footsteps echoed softly across the metal walkway. Mason stopped immediately and looked back through the red emergency haze. Lasara Vane emerged from the corridor shadows wearing a sealed reactor field suit over her dark scientific uniform, while pale blue emergency lights reflected across the glowing markings beneath her skin. "You should not be here," Mason said quietly. Lasara continued walking toward him without hesitation. "Neither should you." A violent gravity surge rolled through the corridor, hard enough to shake loose dust from the ceiling supports overhead. Mason steadied himself against the railing while Lasara remained balanced beside him with unsettling alien precision. "This sector may collapse entirely," she warned softly. Mason looked ahead toward the reactor chamber blast doors flickering at the far end of the corridor. Yeah. Starting to notice that. For several seconds, neither moved. Emergency alarms echoed around them, while deep mechanical vibrations rolled upward through the station floor beneath their boots. Finally, Lasara spoke again. You asked earlier how many workers remained below the reactor sectors. Mason nodded once. 32, she answered quietly. Evacuation elevators failed during the first gravity surge. The human closed his eyes briefly after hearing the number. Not dramatic. Just tired. Like another invisible weight quietly settled onto his shoulders. Then he resumed walking toward the reactor chamber. Lasara followed beside him this time instead of behind. Reactor Chamber 6 stood nearly 4 stories tall beneath the station core. The moment the blast doors opened, heat and distorted gravity waves slammed outward through the corridor, hard enough to force both of them sideways against the entry rails. Inside the chamber, the stabilizer core pulsed violently at the center of the structure, surrounded by massive steel support arms already beginning to bend beneath the pressure fluctuations. Entire maintenance platforms hung twisted above the reactor pit, while sparks rained downward through the unstable gravity field below. At the far side of the chamber, the manual stabilizer assembly remained partially operational. Barely. Mason stared at the massive emergency lever connected directly to the failing gravity core. Please tell me aliens eventually invented buttons. Manual systems resist gravity fluctuations better. Of course they do. Another violent surge shook the chamber. One of the upper support beams bent sharply downward with a deep metallic scream echoing across the reactor pit. Warning lights flashed instantly around the stabilizer assembly. Core failure imminent. Lasara looked toward the emergency lever while fear finally appeared openly across her face for the first time since meeting the human. The stabilizer must remain engaged continuously until evacuation completes. Mason stared at the enormous lever mechanism several yards away. Heavy industrial steel. Pure manual resistance. His exhausted body already understood what the machine required before his mind finished calculating it. How long? He asked quietly. 7 minutes. Mason nodded slowly once. Then he walked toward the stabilizer assembly without another word. The gravity intensified immediately near the reactor core. Every movement became brutally heavy again. Worse than the planet's surface now, because the fluctuations struck unpredictably. One surge nearly forced him to both knees halfway across the platform before he caught himself against the support rail. Lasara moved beside him instantly, reaching toward his arm. Mason shook his head once without looking at her. Still standing. Together, they finally reached the stabilizer lever while the chamber continued collapsing around them piece by piece. Mason wrapped both trembling hands around the massive steel handle and pulled downward with everything left inside his exhausted body. The lever resisted violently beneath the gravity load. Pain crossed his face immediately. Real pain. But slowly the stabilizer mechanism began moving inch by inch toward lock position. Reactor alarms changed tone across the chamber overhead. Evacuation elevators restarting. Gravity field stabilizing slightly. Behind them, the station finally began surviving. Mason kept both hands locked against the lever while his entire body shook beneath the pressure crushing downward through the reactor sector. Beside him, Lasara quietly placed both pale blue hands against the stabilizer assembly and pushed beside the human without speaking. For several long seconds beneath the flashing emergency lights, an impossible weight surrounding them, neither scientist nor worker mattered anymore. There was only a tired human. An alien who refused to leave him alone. And the sound of two exhausted people carrying something heavy together.